Showtime!
Gotten a 2-month break, I think, before when the time skip 2 or 3 months, but 6 months, unheard of with this anime.
Well, with
So
6
for it
months,
to
if I just, like, watch one a day, I'll get caught up,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
that's
and
like
that's the thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
right?
you
you'll
could
get there.
you could catch up with currently airing One Piece. It's possible,
No, I
even
couldn't.
for you.
How
That's
many
right, listener.
episodes are there? Aren't there 500 episodes or something?
It's
Times
like
2 at
Jesus Christ.
126.
It's like I always say that about, like, Pokemon too. I'm like, "Aren't there, like, 500 now?" And they're always like, "No, it's like,
It's so many more.
800 or
Yeah,
something." It's, like,
there's
so
so
many
many
more.
more.
I don't
Honestly,
even know.
I think Pokemon's up there in the episode count too, if you count
Yeah.
all the
Jesus.
seasons together.
No, really, I think
Um,
One Piece is at like an 1100
That
yeah,
currently.
is
11,
just
1128
Yeah,
or something like that.
it, it's
Just
it's a lot. It's a time
it's not
sink. It's an
enough.
investment.
Not enough. More.
Um,
it's just
More
wild to
episodes.
me.
6 months
Um,
though, first time ever in its run. So it's kind of huge. Yeah,
but that's the beauty of it, right? So 6 months is enough time for people like our friend here, Eric, to join in and
nice segue.
enjoy One Piece. And he's the best to ever do it. He's the best in the business. He's an American anime enjoyer, and he's got 3 cats. Eric, welcome to the pod.
Oh, what an introduction. What a bunch of lies other than the cats. But it's a pleasure. It is a total pleasure to be here on the what's the you guys never told me what like the show name is, I think. Like
Yeah,
the official
yeah.
is there like an official
D,
name?
we gotta fill them in. What is
Oh
what's our
yeah,
name?
you're about to be filled in. It's Filler Mondays actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of, a riff on those sort of shows that are like, ah, yes, we are always airing on this specific day, or Saturday morning cartoons, but it's it's not all filler. It's it's not all
No.
filler.
In you know to prepare for this, I actually I I was vaguely aware of what Dragon Ball Kai was. And so I got pretty deep into the Wikipedia on Dragon Ball Kai and how it like basically removes the filler episodes from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically I'm an expert is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. So
In
what
all
we do is we
things.
take all the filler episodes that were discarded, we put them in our podcast, and it fuels us like a perpetual motion machine, and we can just keep going.
I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, I mean, the first question we really have for you, since we've both known you for
long
ever,
time.
why do you hate our people?
Why do I hate your people? Yeah, I think it's generally your height. I think as a massive 5'6" man, you shorties, I just can't. Although D, you're taller than me, aren't you? Like, I guess I'm really just talking about Ryan. No,
True.
I so I find anime fascinating and somewhat impenetrable. We were just kind of chatting about One Piece and the fact that there's like 1,000 episodes or more than 1,000 episodes. Like that blows my mind. Even now, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll show my wife Kayla like Dragon Ball for the first time. Like and what's like the easiest way to jump into that? Oh, there's Dragon Ball Kai, right? And that's a shortened version of Dragon Ball Z, right? But there's
Yeah.
still like 170 episodes or something like that. They're short; they're only 20 minutes long or whatever.
If that, yeah.
We could probably power up through them,
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
Look, so
but
you want to know a secret? Want to know an industry secret?
yeah,
All
what's
those
that?
big old animes that are like 1,000 episodes long.
Yeah.
So if you get rid of the ending, if you get rid of the opening, and you get rid of the recap, you
Mm,
maybe are with a 15-minute episode.
right.
So you could do one episode, 30 minutes, 2 episodes, easy. Same thing with Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball had a lot of filler, what happened last week type of thing. They've strayed away from that now, but yeah, maybe more of the modern stuff, probably more digestible for you guys.
Maybe. You know what's interesting is like there's probably like an alternate universe, right? Where I actually become as big of an anime fan as you guys because like circa I don't know, when did Pokemon hit? Like the anime around the time that like the
Uh,
trading card game was out, whatever, late
Nine
90s,
in
whatever.
America, probably 96, 97. If I
Sure.
had to put a
So
number on it.
yeah, so I'm
fact
like
checking,
10
fact
years
checking, fact
old,
checking.
Fact
whatever.
check me. Fact check me.
Um, and that was my favorite thing ever. I liked the trading card game. I got the games on Game Boy.
Yeah,
Watched the show, watched the anime. Um, fully engrossed in Pokemon. Shortly thereafter, moved on to Dragon Ball Z.
Hmm.
Right, loved it. Favorite thing. Wanted to like come home from school and watch that on Toonami, and then Toonami started really ramping up their like anime stuff. So it was like the Gundam Wing, got into
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Um,
Huge.
yeah,
huge.
Cowboy Bebop when with that run, checked that out. So there was like at least a very short period of time where I was just like pretty into it, and then I just
Yeah,
kind
I
of
remember.
fell off, and like not for any particular, like I don't know what the reason is. I don't know what
Oh.
like the like
Hmm.
overall reason was, but it just kind of happened. I got into other things, I guess.
Well, shit. He already answered one of my questions.
Oh,
I was like,
good.
I was gonna ask him, why did you fall off the sauce? It was so good for a second there. You just
I kind
abandoned it.
of, I don't know. I think other things just started like absorbing
Hmm.
more time or so, like there's
Yeah,
just so much, especially right around that time, like
yeah,
into the early 2000s or what
Sure.
have you. You've got like this explosion of bigger video games, I would say, would be like one thing. You got the explosion of like GTA as like the first kind of open world stuff. So I'm getting into that GTA or like Final Fantasy 10 or whatever, which is basically an anime, right? Like
Yeah.
um so it's like longer video games taken away my time, right? And then I think I still had, and I get that it's kind of a naive mentality, but I still had the mentality of like, okay, I got to move away from animation, right? Like
right.
animation's for
Here
kids.
it
Oh,
is.
his balls dropped. His balls dropped,
I
and he was
got
like, "Fuck
I
cartoons."
got to watch like real fucking cinema, right? Real movies
Yes, there it is,
and
baby.
like hardcore shows,
Cinema,
that kind of
cinema.
stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and whatever, and like the grittier the better, the more adult the better, and it was just like definitely what was being fed in terms of like what I could watch on like Toonami or
Oh
whatever at
yeah,
that
yeah.
time was not at the same level of like watching.
Pulp Fiction or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Like Pulp
yeah,
Fiction,
yeah, yeah.
like so it's like okay, I've got the choice between yeah, watching Gundam Wing or watching Pulp Fiction, and I'm gonna pick Pulp Fiction, more most of the time. So yeah, I guess that maybe answered the question of why I dropped off, but it's like
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's an
Hmm.
interesting thing. I haven't put a lot of thought of it into it, and now it's just like flowing. It's funny.
Okay. All right. So we're in that space, right? So you're in this headspace right now of like then. And then what would you say, like, what is the difference now that you think that there's like, you know, a more a draw to anime that isn't kind of like has the stipulation of like, oh, it's animation. Why do you think so many more people are gravitating it to it now as opposed to, that initial sort of semi blow up, like you said, like where it was kind of like video games and all that stuff kind of had like the anime thing going on. Like how do you feel like just from your POV, like just
Yeah.
seeing it from the outside?
Why is it more mainstream than ever now, in like today's culture? What is your perspective not being like a adjacent, anime fan like me and D?
Yeah, I think what I've seen, like our buddy Mike would be a great example of, or I mean, D's a great example as well. What's that gamer tag there? Your anime dad, right? Like it's I think it's that next generation, right? So it's like Mike, it's D, it's other people who kept up, like still like have a love for anime, and then they pass it on to their kids. So now you've got like two generations of people loving it together, and it's like something you could share, similar to video games. I feel like it of like we're the we're kind of the second-ish generation, but we're really kind of the first generation who like grew up that video games always existed. It's
Hmm.
kind of
Yeah.
that way. We're like the first generation who grew up where anime always existed, at least here in like the US, right? Like it's existed
Yeah.
forever in Japan, but like so we were that first generation. Then like okay, another generation came up, and you can like Sherpa them up, right? Like, imagine it's cool. You guys, like Ryan, you don't got kids, but I imagine you've run into like younger people who you can still like run into or like be have you found like a community, right? Like where you can still talk about this stuff. Talk about like, oh yeah, back in my day in 97 when I first got
Yeah.
on Dragon Ball or something, like this shit was cool, man. That kind of stuff. I bet you that's super rewarding. I imagine it's like incredibly rewarding for you, D, with your kids and stuff, like having those.
Ooh, man, you have no idea. Last night we were just watching Dan to Dan, and that's a new anime that just came out, and it's just really nice to just put on a new thing and not have to worry about are my kids gonna vibe with this?
That responsibility of like, oh, we'll live up to their expectations that was to mine. Yeah.
It's more that. It's like I'm not worried about are they gonna like it because it's anime. It's more like is this gonna be to their standards? Because they have their own developed tastes and stuff now. So there is kind of like you said, there's a kind of a generational gap that's kind of shortened like considerably. And I think there's like a lot of other factors that come into like that sort of thing, especially when it's like when you're considering the mainstream. Um, and I mean like just in that, I think Ryan wanted to talk about something about the mainstream. It's kind of eluding me right now.
Oh,
Uh
mainstream, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it became more mainstream with the thanks to the pandemic. Everyone was stuck inside, and they had so much content to consume, just for like a year or whatever that time was. And I feel like it
Mm,
literally boomed off of just having endless amounts of content, 1,000+ episode animes and whatever. Maybe you don't want to rewatch The Office for like the billionth time, but you know, I think that's one of the main reasons why I kind of taken off. Now it's in everything. We see sports people doing it because sports anime goes harder than actual sports themselves. You got like boxers with jetpacks on their legs and real intense Rocky moments and stuff every other scene. So, there's a genre in there for everybody. I think people are just understanding, oh, this just isn't Saturday morning cartoons vibes, right? It's literally for everyone. And I think the essentially the curtains are drawn open and people are seeing for what it actually is because it has really unique fresh stories that people haven't heard about. They've heard about Superman, they've heard about Iron Man, Spider-Man for the past 50 years, right? And that to some people is kind of boring because you can only reinvent a character for so long before you're like, okay, I've heard that story, but I want something new, I want something fresh. And I think that contributes to a lot of it. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, as an anime watcher and goer, going to comic book stores now, you see just so much more of it being like sold and just stocked than than comics to some degree.
Yeah, so I've got like two thoughts. One of them's like still on that generational talk we were
Hmm.
having of like you mentioned popular figures or whatever, maybe like showing their love for anime, right? Like so like Michael B. Jordan, I think is a great
Huge.
example of like dude's super popular, like in blockbuster movies and stuff, and then like is all over social media like, hey
Yeah,
man, I
yeah,
dig anime and stuff like that. So it's become visible in that way of like, okay, there's celebrities and influencers and stuff like that of like there well, literally like social media didn't exist when we were first when
true.
I was first getting into anime or anything like that. So now it does. Now it's got like a chance to really like create communities. I feel like I think that's the thing of like the communities back in the day was like, okay, we're gonna all get together at lunchtime at school or something and talk about the latest episode of Dragon Ball Z, or like, oh yeah, my ma took me to Suncoast so I could get like
Oh.
whatever random
Suncoast.
like VHS or like DVD or something of some anime I may never even heard of, or I like heard on in like an early chat room or something. Someone said like, "Oh, you got to check out whatever," Um, uh,
Gotta check out Redacted.
right,
Redacted.
and you
Redacted.
spent
Yeah.
like $30 for like a VHS copy of some random anime and probably fell in love with it or whatever. And um, it was so much harder back then
Oh yeah.
to find people who were also into it. There was like just more stigmatization of it, of in the same way of like comic books have kind of been that way, or like
Exactly.
superhero media, right? Like it went from, oh, that's a dorky, nerdy, geeky thing to do, be into comic books and superheroes and stuff, to literally from like 2008 through basically now being like
Yeah,
the dominant part of pop culture in like at least the Western
yeah,
world, and really
yeah.
Oh
like
man.
I
a,
mean, it really
a
did take
lot of
off
the world.
internationally, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that era of like high school, we're in high school, it was kind of like, you had the people who are into like Marvel and stuff and the nerds, quote unquote. But we were like a sub genre nerd that was like looked down upon among the nerds, And we left high school. It's like Clan the Cave Bear, when like the Homo sapiens was basically going apart from the Neanderthals. And it's like, man, why do I feel so, I don't know, like not good enough for people? And yeah, yeah, but definitely it's kind of bleeding the culture. Even the early 2000s, late 90s, a lot of inspiration from like a lot of that I would say sci-fi. You got Akira with the very memorable bike sequence. You got, people from the Matrix taking stuff. You got people literally plagiarizing stuff from what's his name? Satoshi Kon, Perfect
Yeah.
Blue, into Black Swan, Inception, basically just taking a one for one scene and like taking like their ideas and stuff. But now the modern stuff, you're talking about like Michael B. Jordan, Creed 3, a lot big inspiration. He said, "Oh, it's from like Naruto, if you're familiar with
Mm.
that. It's a ninja anime." But yeah, yeah. So it's kind of bled into all kind of facets, whether you're, a fan or not. You kind of see it, which is interesting because I mean, just have more eyes on it. And of course, social media and whatnot. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's a
always
very
found it weird when he was, training and running for his boxing matches that he held his arms behind him. That was really weird.
I think
Okay,
I
that's
think
the
it's
most I know about Naruto, guys. So
Hey,
I've
and that and that's really great point for you to hit on, is that the most recognizable thing from Naruto from an outsider's perspective is that weird ass ninja run. I don't care what anyone says. It's very cool on paper when you're reading it because you're like, wow, they're moving so fast. They don't even have time to move their arms. And then you see a real person do it and you go, I get why people may laugh at me doing this. I
I
understand.
mean, kind of talking about that Naruto. What was your Me and D, we went hard in the paint in high school. What was your
yeah.
impression of like those headbands we wore in high school? Those fucking ninja headbands.
Well,
You're like these.
It's weird because
Oh, he's bringing
like
it out. He's bringing it out. He's gonna show you. He still's got it.
so in high school I was a complete piece of shit. So like whatever shit, I was a piece of shit for longer than that. But like so probably I thought like, oh my god, these why are people doing this? This is
Oh, oh.
ridiculous. Like, you know, but at the end of the day, it's I'm wearing a t-shirt that's like a fake beer ad for Dark Souls, a video game, a Japanese video game, right? So
Yeah.
like why is that more or less
Eh,
culturally acceptable or anything like that? It's all silly, right? Like
Yeah.
wear whatever you want, be into whatever you want. So like, yeah, if you're asking me like, oh, what did I probably think of like anime nerds or whatever in high school or even like in through college or whatever else, I probably was like, oh my god,
don't sugarcoat it.
that's
Just say we're
fucking
fucking
lame.
losers,
Yeah,
man.
like,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Cringy.
like, hey,
Yeah.
grow up. Yeah, I was also into Dragon Ball Z 10 years ago, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But
Yeah.
that was almost certainly what my mentality
Mm.
probably was at that time. Um, but I as much as I say that, like it was always something that I would never like. It's not like obviously we remained friends, right? Like we lived
Yeah.
together and stuff even like
Sure.
after that, so it's never I I was never that much of an asshole, right? Of like, oh, anime people need to be put into camps, like
Yeah,
Oh
okay, all right.
shit.
You're
more
you're
so.
saying
Oh.
that. He's like, "Yeah, we live together." And he was underneath the stairs where he belonged.
No, it was more like not being able to like wrap my head around the subculture and like
Yeah.
frankly like I'm still there really of like
Yeah.
okay, why is it that a large amount of people like the anime community is very big, right? And I still have that question of like why is it that out of you know every country on the planet is like making art, right? Like there's
Mhm.
French movies and you know Dutch music and there's American video
Documentaries.
games, whatever. Like every culture and language and everything is making art every single day. And it seems like for whatever reason, Japanese like cartoons and drawings, comics have like crossed over in a big way in ways that like other I don't know anyone who's like, man, I'm just really into like French television programs, right? Like they exist. They probably are huge in France, but I don't know a single motherfucker who's oh sorry, I don't know if you swear on
No,
this,
you're
but
good.
like I don't
Swear
know
away.
a single person who's like, yeah, dude, that those French TV shows, like those are baller, man. But I
Hey,
know
man,
a
have
ton of people who like love anime, right? Like,
Mm.
so
I
it's an
have a
interesting thing to
very
me.
I have a very specific thing about the French TV shows. Man, have you heard of Miraculous, man? That shit is
It's good.
that's crazy. It
I have.
pops off
It's
sometimes.
a, is it a French
Uh
TV show?
it's a French children's cartoon.
Oh,
I
that's
I was
funny.
making it, yeah, yeah, yeah. Which I only know about because of my kids. But it's great that you kind of bring up the whole like phenomena of like the like essentially like the culture blending aspect of anime, how it kind of just crosses over, gets in there, and then kind of roots itself in its own little community within these other sort of like cultures and other countries, and there doesn't seem to be like a stigma against specifically that. Like there's not like a, "Oh, American television, get that out of here. We got our own
No.
TV. Get it out of here." Anime comes over, they're like, "Hey, you could stay. Come over here. Get closer actually. Let me inspect you a little bit closer." And I think that is kind of like what you're saying. There's like this appeal to it because and this is just my opinion that there's this very clear passion behind it that is sort of like especially with current TV animated projects, it's just lacking. It's gotten a lot better. There's a lot more animated projects that I've seen recently that have a lot of heart behind them, but not the same freedom of expression that you kind of get with anime. And I think
Yeah.
that's a big part of it. There's a lot of expression and passion that comes through from these projects that you just do not get to see in other countries. That freedom of expression is apparent in like certain projects, but for it to kind of like back to back to back to back to back to back, no matter how good or bad the quality, you still see like a very like, this is the kind of story I want to tell. It may be
Yeah.
garbage, but I'm gonna tell it.
And you're seeing many things now of every kind of taking that, like, Netflix is investing heavily in anime. I
Yeah,
mean, like, you got anime everything now, like anime Tomb Raider, Castlevania, you got Lord of the Rings movie coming out in December, all anime, right? And there's a reason for that, it's kind of D's explaining. But is your saying, D? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
what? Cut me off?
Sorry. Oh, I cut you
I
off. I
thought you were,
cut you off.
bro. I thought you were. This is a baton race. There's no cutting me
Oh,
off.
all
Anyway,
right. Well,
but how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the whole like kind of what Ryan was trying to say, like the whole like, this thing is now an anime now.
Mm.
no, before he says anything, his head right now in his, Miyazaki quote, he's like smoking a cigarette and he just like, kind of like lean back in his chair and he's like, anime was a mistake. That's
Yeah.
Eric. That's what
I,
that's just in his head.
I have I have that saved on my phone, like literally an image of that. I have a meme of that, and I use it often. Anytime I see something like ridiculous, like an anime meme or something, I'll just like drop that on like social media or something. I think it's hilarious.
It's great.
So so the question is like how like Netflix and a lot of people are like investing in anime and whatnot, and how I feel about that. I feel pretty good about it, honestly, in the sense that like I've really enjoyed some of, and I don't know if you guys define the like or
No,
like
don't
how
do
you
that.
get.
Just throw that question away. Take it. We're gonna grab that one. We're gonna discard it. Edit it out in post. We don't need this question in our chat rooms.
So I just, like I loved the Castlevania anime on like Netflix.
Yeah, yeah,
I thought it
yeah.
was phenomenal. I know that that's like mostly a Western production or whatever else. I don't know how much of it like actually, I bet you
You're
some
getting back
people
in the
are like
sauce. Get out of the sauce, Eric.
so like super dug that, and I've also, I'm trying to think that there's more than just Castlevania, but
You like cyberpunk
I
edge runners, right?
I thought so. I really loved and here's the thing I often find about like the when I do dip my toe in anime, I really love like the art style and the animation of it all. The like Edge Runners was like super colorful. I dug
Ooh,
the
yeah.
violence. I dug the
Oh,
like color
mm.
palettes and the use of different color. And I love that universe. I'm a big fan of the
Mhm.
game. So like jumping into that universe was cool, but that's an example of one that like story wise, character wise, didn't quite hit for me. Like I didn't love it as much as a lot of people. I liked it. It was like a 7.58 for me, something like that. Whereas like I dug my time. I
Right,
like
right
watched
with
it.
you.
I kind of like binged the whole thing and enjoyed it. But I know like overall, like people raved about it. It was one of like for a lot of people like the best shows of that year and stuff. And like it was a little bit of a miss in that sense for me, but yeah, it's something about like I do think there's there's something of a cultural barrier, and it's probably a me thing, right? Like but I've just noticed it in um like in that that's an anime that was I think was a Japanese production, right? Like it's a
Yeah,
translated production and everything else. So
yeah.
there's there's just something like even subconscious of like, okay, they're not something's being
Something's
translated here.
off. Something's
Something's a
off, right?
smidge off, 5% off,
I
right?
like it. I like it. You notice
Um
it.
and I found the same thing with like maybe even a little more with the movie Parasite, the Korean movie
Ooh,
Parasite,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which I mean, I know we're talking anime and it's not an anime,
No, you're good.
but anyway,
Parasite
like
anime. Parasite anime.
like really beautiful movie, like from like the shots are really good. Um the story, the overall like the plot of it really dug, but there's something to like the cultural differences of like the way I guess people speak to each other in the East, and like obviously there's things like courtesy and bowing and stuff like that that we don't do here, right? And like
Yeah,
that just little bit of difference there, and the little bit of like, okay, you're having to read subtitles, and um obviously there's some kind of context missed. If I knew
right.
Korean, I bet you the dialogue's great, but I don't. So I'm having to like read text, and I'm
uh,
having to like also kind of like get those like minor cultural um differences of like how people speak to each other in English versus how people speak to each other in Korean or Japanese or Spanish, or anything. Like every culture
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
has different ways of interacting with each other. So
Yeah, their honorifics are like completely different than what we're used to here. In a way that's a bit weird and can be also just translated weird sometimes. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's like the
and
Um,
that's
biggest barrier that I see in in
yeah. And I
in
was gonna
stuff
say
like
that.
that sometimes. I liked the movie Drive My Car, which was another I forget if that's also Korean or if that's
It's okay. I'll fact check.
Japanese. Yeah. Uh really cool like plot of a movie, and some really great like cinematic quality. That was
wait,
like
he said, dude, that's my car, right? That's a
yeah,
Korean
dude my
comedy.
dude where's my car? Yeah.
Drive My Car is a 2021 Japanese drama film directed by Ryusuke
Japanese.
Hamaguchi.
I
Yeah.
could see Ashton Kutcher speaking Korean,
Yeah.
100%.
So that movie
I
was like
really,
up for
I really don't want
Oscars
to
and
see that.
stuff. And just a really good movie, but just that like 5% of like the cultural differences and having to translate and stuff is just like, man, that I fail to get over the hump sometimes with that kind of
Hmm.
stuff.
Well,
Yeah, and I think that really does kind of like lend to like this conversation a lot is like there's like an exposure that like you kind of go through when
Mm,
you're like consuming like the foreign media. And that's just like in general because like I have a thing with like telenovelas and stuff
mm.
where like I get into telenovelas, man. I'm crying, I get emotional, like I'm in there and I'm reading subtitles as fast as I can. Like I am in the pocket with that stuff. But like you said earlier, you turn on something else that I'm not familiar with, like a French drama or, something that's been translated from German. Like
Mm,
there's things like you said, that little barrier where like I'm enjoying it because the story is engaging. And like the cinematography is phenomenal, but there's just like something in the mannerisms and the delivery that's off. That just you can't translate that away because it's cultural, right? Like there's like
yeah.
there's like that cultural thing going on. And I think especially recently, in my opinion, for like watching this for years, there's like a lot less of that in anime, like to the
Mm,
point where like if you do notice it, like you noticed, it's because you've reached a level of enjoyment with it
mhm,
that you can pick apart the things that you're like, man, if I could just understand why they're doing this specific phrasing, or the physicality of a scene where they're like 6 feet apart and it's supposed to be like really sentimental, and you're like, why are they so far apart though? That's kind of weird.
there's a great YouTuber guy that teaches Japanese online. His name like Yuta, I think, and he kind of breaks down sometimes like anime characters and how they speak and how like they would never say it this way in
mm.
Japanese, and it's just an interesting like dissect of like of that, which are kind of like we're talking about in a bit. All right, we're halfway through, so we prepared a little mini game for
Oh,
you.
fun. Here we go.
Who wants to be a weeb? It's clearly Eric, formerly known podcaster of Machine and Nonsense. Um, all right, I'm gonna hit you with the first question. D can take it away with the second question. Uh, which one of these are associated with what's called a young protagonist?
Ooh.
A. Goku. B. Shonen. C. Otaku. Or D. JoJo.
Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna run. Can I run through my methodology here?
Please, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Goku, I'm well aware of. There's a million Gokus. In there's so many Gokus. Um, what was the next one? The next one was Shonen. I know there's a magazine called Shonen Jump, or if they're still publishing, I know there was a magazine called Shonen Jump. Um, I have no idea what what the title means. I know D was JoJo, which I've heard there's an anime called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh my god!
Mm.
So I know that from big shout out to the Giant Bomb. They forced one of their guys there to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and he actually really liked it. So what was C?
C was Otaku.
Otaku. Okay, well, shameless plug for the Machine of Nonsense. We're doing a disc dive into Metal Gear Solid, and Otacon, the character, takes his name from Otaku,
Oh my
being
god.
a fan of anime and manga and stuff like that. So I guess it's got to be shonen.
You know what? Brain size of a planet. You're correct.
Bing, bing, bing,
You're
bing, bing,
correct. Hell yeah. Good job.
Put this man
Amazing.
in a game show setting, and the wristbands and weighted clothing come off.
Put him in the training room. All right. Take him away at the second question, D. You can
Okay,
take
Now
the
I
next
know what
two.
shonen means. I'm gonna write that down and remember it forever.
There you go.
Like a steel
So
trap. This thing.
the next question, really hard one. Just I want you to take the time to consider it, and just really give yourself time to just marinate. All right. So this next question:
Mm.
dubs
Ooh.
or subs?
Okay. Okay. Oh
A,
boy.
subs. B, subs. C, subs. Or D, dubs.
Oh, that's pretty good. Can I choose multiple choices? I know I'm supposed to say subs. I believe that's the cultural correct thing to say, right? Like it's like don't put ketchup on a hot dog, kind of. Which
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I completely agree with. I am
yeah.
part of that culture. Do not put ketchup on a hot dog. Um, oh man. So we've been going through what's the Viking show we've been watching a little bit of?
Vinland Saga.
Vinland Saga, and we've been doing the sub, right?
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed my time with it, so I'll have to say A, B, and C sub for this one.
And the correct answer was whatever you enjoy. That's right, people. Get out there, watch anime, however you get it. That was a trick question.
We didn't discuss this.
I gotta throw a curveball every now and then. But we do have one more question. Ryan, go for it.
What kind of animal is Tony Chopper?
Oh God.
A horse. B, a donkey. C, a tanuki.
Okay.
Or D, a reindeer.
Okay. So definitely not a tanuki. I'm a fan of tanukis. Well, you're wearing Tony Chopper on the shirt. If you hadn't been wearing the shirt, I would have 0% chance. But that looks to me, I was gonna say deer, but then you said reindeer, so I'm gonna say reindeer. D, reindeer.
Oh my god. All right. Holy shit, guys. He is a full-fledged weeb. What has he won today? D, what does he go away with?
Today you're going to be going home with the distinct knowledge of the weight and pressure of bringing new souls into the flock. That's right, you've been enacted into our cult, and we will be testing you tomorrow. Bring those numbers, baby, baby, baby. And for your final bonus question, why do you hate my people?
You already asked that, and, I don't hate you, I just don't understand you, you know?
Oh, okay.
But I'm gonna try to understand you.
See, ladies and gentlemen, anyone can make progress. Anyone can change their views. Um, but no, so like we've talked about, like kind of like your interests with it and your experiences, how you feel about it in the modern media setting and all that. But what would you say? We were just talking about Vinland Saga. Would you say like that new coat of paint, that polish on it, kind of invited you more back in, or do you kind of still have like a nostalgia for like that old school, like grittier anime look? Do you feel like that draws you more in, or is the nice new quality also a big draw?
That's a good question because like I recently watched like Akira for the first time. And I got to say I didn't really enjoy it. I'll just put that out there, but
Fair enough.
I really I liked the animation. And that's at what 1985 or something
Yeah,
like
it's old.
Oh, they
yeah.
cooked. They
I,
cooked
I
back
think
then.
it looks really really good and I always dug Dragon Ball and whatnot. But Vinland Saga also looks really good. It
Yeah.
looks really really good. So I don't know that I have like a distinct like flavor that I like more than other. Like gun to my head, I guess I'd say like newer the better just because like there's definitely it if I pull too long at the thread of like Dragon Ball Z or something else,
Yeah.
I'm gonna if I'm trying to be really picky with it, I'm gonna be like, there's a lot of reused animations. There's
Yeah,
a lot of
there
just
it
Yeah.
is. There
garbage
it is.
faces and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
like at the time I could just whatever that washed over me, but like with a discerning eye, like if I'm trying to be critical about something, um yeah, I like it looks like trash sometimes, right? Like whereas Vinland Saga, I mean so far whatever 5 6 episodes in has just looked like okay, this looks modern, this looks good, this looks well done. Um it's just good and like edge runners as well like looked really really good
Yeah.
looked like oh yeah they could not have done this maybe even 10 years ago or something
Yeah.
the technology may have not been there that kind of thing so yeah modern I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got there, guys. We got
Squeeze it
there.
out of him. You squeeze it out of him. Broke his
But
arm.
I like seeing your like that genuine sort of like considering it. It's like you said, watched Akira, and then you had the comparison, right? You had the comparison of like those are both pedigree things that you mentioned. Vinland Saga is held in very high regard as far as like one of the modern animes. So for you to go Vinland Saga versus Akira really kind of paints this picture of like where was at, and it was at a certain quality, a high quality, and to bring it forward with Vinland Saga. And do you feel like that sort of like pedigree is also what's kind of like drawing people in? Because like you said,
Mm.
what made you want to check out Akira?
Just because like for years and years I've heard that it's like the granddaddy of at least like modern anime and everything else and so influential and also just like I had I vaguely knew the story like that had some like cosmic horror elements and cyberpunk elements and just like stuff I'm into so it's like okay cool like cool setting um influential all of the above.
Just
Everyone's been
ticking
saying like,
boxes.
yeah, it's ticking boxes. And then like I found it a little confusing. I didn't quite.
It is confusing. It is confusing. It's a whole lot of ideas. It looks really cool
Yeah,
and it's kind of scary at the same time. But when I
yeah.
first watched it, I felt the same way you did. I didn't love it, but I appreciated the art form and what it did for like the industry going forward. Um, it wasn't like, oh my god, the story blew my fucking brain away. No, it wasn't like that at all. Have you ever seen Evangelion?
No, no. I've
Okay,
I've barely heard of it, but
uh,
I've heard of it.
that was another one like a cultural phenomenon that kind of blew things up in a big way. Real deep psychological questions and, different tropes and whatever, but big robots are a little more adult than like Gundam.
Hmm. You
Um
mentioned Satoshi Kon earlier, and
mhm.
like I remember interviewing on the Machine and Nonsense. I was interviewing our friend Patrick. He's a director and stuff, and he made this horror movie, and he said like Satoshi Kon was one of his like influences, and I was like, oh, who's that? I've never heard of that person. And he said, oh, like yeah, he's made these Deep Blue or what is it called?
Perfect Blue.
Perfect Blue, right? And
Yeah.
he named a couple other of his things, and he's like, yeah, I really dig his stuff, and I still, this is over probably a year and a half now at this point since I interviewed him, and he told me I still haven't checked out any of his stuff. Didn't I feel like Adult Swim recently
They did, yeah.
released something, right? Okay. Like, so maybe that's a way I can get into it. But I've been wanting, I feel like that might be a good place for me to jump in because I really like thrillers and horror and cosmic stuff and whatnot.
Here's
Like,
this is kind of dated, but me and Dee were talking about remakes to other one. It might be a bit dated because of the way technology is now, but I think you'd appreciate. It's really depressing and very
mm,
kind of horror and very trippy in its time. But it's called Serial Experiments Lane. Have you heard of that anime before?
no,
No.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
So, Serial Experiments Lane. I'm gonna give you a brief description of what it's about. Let's see. So, Lane, a girl in junior high school, lives in suburban Japan with her middle class family, consisting of an inexpressive older sister, emotionally distant. Basically, Lane herself is introvert, socially isolated. Anyways, she finds this wired, it's a virtual realm. This is like late 90s at the time where internet was like really kind of its inception. And it basically it contains like a support of humanity's communication networks created through television, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Going, enables the subconscious and stuff basically, and explores a lot of really dark, very serious themes and a lot of suicide and other things. I
Mm,
think you would dig it. It could be I haven't watched in a long time, so I don't know if it'd be like as scary as it was for me back then. But that's another one I think you might dig. What about you? Do you any
yeah.
suggestions for him in that like realm of horror, suspense? Um,
I mean, like, you guys both know who I am. I don't have any of that stuff.
yeah,
I don't got
yeah,
horror, I don't got suspense. All I have is hype and rom-coms. That's what I live on. It's
Yeah.
what I eat for breakfast and for lunch. But to piggyback on Serial Experience Lane, because I have dipped my toes into that, there are a lot of themes and just topics that are still very true in this social media age. And I think
Mm,
that's something to really kind of key on. It's like there's some stuff in there that he just fully like had it dead to rights what was going to happen with social media and
mm.
how it would affect people's psyche.
yeah. In
Uh,
retrospect, I think it's just more prevalent now than it was then, which is scary to think about. You're right.
So it's that specific thing's very cool, and I think like without any very specific recommendations, because I would love to just keep chugging away at Vinland Saga if I'm being
Sure.
honest, because the the reason why I'm just gonna double down on Vinland Saga is because it hits certain socio-political themes
Mm.
that I wasn't prepared to deal with in it on a personal level with this character. So we do get some world widening views like with other characters that we'll get introduced to, but it's always reframed uh through Thorfinn's like POV basically. And how the things that are going on are affecting him specifically is like why I stuck with this show
Mm.
and with the manga specifically.
Yeah,
Um
the writing's just it's just so good and people when they the thing that suffers from the most is not how good it is, it's just the people who are consuming it and what their expectations are, right? So again, anime is to me subgenres. So people kind of expect going in, oh, this is going to be like a Dragon Ball thing, because the first season of Villain Saga is very, you're hitting the gas and you're going. It is a prologue to essentially the actual story.
Mm.
And, people think, oh, action, action, violence, violence, violence. And it's so much not really about that. They don't really understand that until season two and like, oh, okay, I got it. This is different than like your average shonen anime. I mean, there's endless like fighting scenes and story involved in that. So, yeah, Villain Saga. God, what an anime, what a manga. Are you a reader? You a big comic reader? I don't know your background on that.
No, not. I mean, I read novels
Sure.
primarily, and even that, like I've got one sitting right here that I've had sitting right here for like 2 weeks that I really need to dig
I feel
into.
that.
Um,
Yeah, I thought you were
but
literate.
Oh, I love like a good yeah, yeah. I can read, yes. Yeah, I can I do have the ability to do so. But yeah, I never got into, even as a kid or whatever, never got into comics, obviously
Mm.
never got into
Mhm.
manga or anything like that. Yeah, pretty much just like horror novels mostly
Ooh, okay.
primarily,
Interesting.
you know.
Big horror guy. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah, horror, or yeah, I mean, like, horror is probably the biggest
That's your
genre
jam.
of like novels that I read. I mean, like, growing up, I think I got poisoned by Goosebumps, and it was like read through like all of the
Oh
first
yeah.
run of those, love those.
You know.
I think they definitely are like one of the reasons I can read, yeah, and like
Oh
love
shit.
love reading, and like
Origin story.
and can read really fast and stuff, and because I just like, oh man, I gotta power through these. So
See, I was the exact opposite. I was a big ass baby. Like late at night,
Big ass
like kind of
baby.
fall times, and like Are You Afraid of the Dark wasn't actually as
mm,
scary, but that beginning opening fucking theme
oh yeah.
like was frightening as a young kid. I was like, shut it off. Shut that shit off. No, I'll bring me back my guts. I want to see Doug and Skeeter on this shit. But yeah, man. That's wild.
Yeah. I did like, the most I've read like comic wise or anything was I did read the whole run of The Walking Dead.
Mm.
And
Ooh,
that's
nice.
honestly like the only I pirated it. I'm sorry. I found a site
Oh,
where they were
no.
uploaded, and I
It's
just like
okay. We're Nakama
Dirty,
here.
uh
dirty pirate.
I know. It was like, it was my college years. But yeah, that's like the only like series or anything that I like. As a kid, I had some Spawn comics, I think, that I dug.
Spawn was great. Yeah, I love Spawn.
But yeah, just haven't. I've never jumped into any sort of manga, never owned a single book
Hmm.
of anything manga, even Dragon Ball or something like that, which I probably would have been into if like someone had bought me one or something. Like I
Yeah,
probably
handed
would
it
have
to
been
you.
into it. Yeah,
It's funny because like earlier we were talking about how like long some of these series are, and Dragon Ball is actually really fucking short. It's surprisingly short in terms of like manga length. It's like
yeah.
30 something volumes or whatever, and that's very very short. Um,
It's really cool that like as your guys are kind of like talking about novels and what's your exposure. Did you have anything with comics? It's like that very important thing that you said, and I just want to touch on it before we move anywhere further, or maybe even get close to wrapping up. Is that the biggest thing that at least I want to kind of like hit on in this pod, getting to talk to you and do this little like little interview,
Love it.
is like it's somebody kind of handing it to you, right?
Mm,
Somebody kind of like passing it to you, be it a friend, older brother, sister, cousin. Rare cases, not my specific case was like my mother,
mm,
and just kind of like that's kind of like your starting point. Like somebody was like, "Hey, man, like read Goosebumps. It's freaking
yeah.
sick." And you're like, "No way, this is sick. This has words in it." And then you open it up and you couldn't put it down. Like I that adrenaline rush of like completing a novel or
Mm,
completing a manga is kind of what feeds these communities and fandoms. And I just really like I just really wanted to touch on that. Like at the end of the day, like no matter what, if you're entering it or you dabble or whatever, it's always like that initial high of like somebody going like, "Yo, this thing I fucking love. Touch it right now."
I think that's the thing that like took me from like kind of if we want to say looking down on like anime fans or whatever else
Pathetic.
to like
Pathetic.
actually being like wowed by them in some ways is definitely going to like conventions like C2E2 especially go to that every year. And like I might not know like any of the characters that people are like cosplaying as or are like in line to see the figures for or whatever else, but it's like the passion's like palpable and you can just tell like yeah, there's a community there. There's just like good vibes and like to ever be like, "Oh, that's not a good thing." Those good vibes are not a good thing. Like people should be into fucking horror novels and not this. It's like that's
Stop having fun.
yeah, it feels positive in a lot of ways, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. That's probably one of the biggest factors in changing my thing from like, I don't really dig this to at least being like, oh, this hell yeah, let's dip my toes in, let's talk about it, let's see, because it's like people love it obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably despite online discourse and how internet could just make the worst of people. Convention setting, I think that's why I started going to them so much as a younger man. It's just like the positive experience, like it's just everyone's there to have a fucking good time, and it just kind of it's infectious, and that's what I think another reason why I got stuck with it for so long. Because again, the communities and the people you met along the way. Um,
The friends you made along the way, even?
the
Hmm?
weebs I made along the way.
Yeah. It's just it really is kind of like surreal if I may break immersion of like just being like I'm out here in Chicago and like sometimes like just see like a promotion for there's like a promotion for One Piece with some
Mhm.
sushi place that's going on right now and there's just like a big like sign like go get your One Piece stuff right now and like that just was not as common like 5 years ago. So it's just really cool to see all of this kind of blowing up in real time,
I don't know if you
basically,
guys could see
especially.
this. I don't know if it comes out well on my
Oh,
camera. So I went to
oh,
this little ramen
Yeah,
shop in
that's so cool.
I was on vacation. Yeah, it doesn't show great, but I was on vacation in Utah, and we found this random like ramen shop, and every it looked like this bit like hole in the wall, kind of place in a strip mall. And you go in, and it's huge. It's gigantic in there. They've got like hibachis, and they've got just like I don't know, 100 tables in there, and along the entire wall are these like I took some pictures of them these ramen themed anime posters, and you could buy all of
mm,
them or whatever else,
that's
but
so cool.
it seemed like it was a bunch of like younger I think like mostly like Asian people who like owned it, but it was popping, a lot of people in there and everything else, and it was just like it was interesting, like an anime themed restaurant, kind of, in the middle of BFE
Utah.
Utah.
I wouldn't
Like it
expect
was,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it was interesting, like,
It's so funny that you had like that very specific picture too to go along with what I was saying. I absolutely like that's what I'm saying. I absolutely adore sort of like the time we're in where it's like anime is becoming prevalent and I've had the pleasure of like always being a Marvel DC fan and that's
mm,
still very much in the poppy like Rolodex of things to talk about like the latest projects and things like that. I mean like after this, I'm probably watching Agatha all along with my daughters.
Mm.
nice.
So like it's just like it I, you're spoiled for choice. And it's kind of like become like the opposite problem of like, how do I get into anime versus like there's just so fucking much of it.
Too
There's
much.
so much. There's so much of it, god damn it.
Yeah, it's like daunting, honestly, of like, um that's why I've like asked like, yeah, you're gonna have to like uh
Hey,
like suggest something because otherwise I
get
just
out of here.
yeah. How do you start as a 37-year-old man who's like barely ever watched anything anime? Like, okay, I'm gonna get a Crunchyroll subscription and just like pick something at random. That sounds terrifying,
Yeah,
you know.
it's a mixed bag for sure, for sure, for sure. Uh, I don't know how people do it now. It's 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 a great thing to have choice, but at the same time, back in the day, being limited, it was actually just in your benefit. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Oh, what is everybody watching? It's still kind of that way sort of now, but like there's just so much of everything in every like medium. But like anime now is just like being produced at like a fast food rate at
mhm,
some degree. And it's just like, what the fuck do I watch? Right? It's just this just mountain of anime you don't know what to do with. Um, which a lot's garbage, but a lot's not.
mm.
You'll find a diamond in the rough eventually. But with that, hey man, thanks for coming on the pod. We appreciate your time. If a little
Thanks
shout
for
out here.
having me.
So Eric, he is the host and a co-host of the Machine of Nonsense. If you guys haven't heard of, a little podcast about video games, shows. He loves his drafts. We know that to a T. You can also find D there as
Hell
well,
yeah.
and me very, very, very occasionally when I can make it. But yeah, man, this was fun. Hopefully, you got a little something out of it, and people got in the mind of a normie, of like what's that like? I don't know. I would never know. I would never know. I'm just built this way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was very enlightening. If I'm just gonna be like, because I always wonder, like, because the interests they crisscross, right? Like a lot of our
Mhm.
interests crisscross, so
Sure.
it's just nice to kind of like hear like in detail, like without the awkwardness of like, so like there's this anime that I really like.
Yeah.
So yeah, go for it.
No, I was gonna say you're never gonna be like with me. You're gonna hear too much. I'm gonna go in too much detail. So you got the right guy for the job, I think.
Yeah, absolutely did. Absolutely did. I mean, is there anything interesting you want to plug before
Oh
we get out of
man.
Yeah.
here?
So I want to plug everything. No, Ryan already said it. I'm the host of the Machine of Nonsense podcast. Check us out on we're at the Machine of Nonsense and all social media. Ryan jumps in, D's on quite often. Right now we're doing our disc dive into Metal Gear Solid 2. So that's like the most anime video game I've ever played. So, there's crossover appeal there. Come check us out over there. But no, it's been a pleasure, guys, and shit, have me on whenever you want. I could also talk like sometimes I can talk intelligently on things, but I could also talk really unintelligently about things.
Mm.
So like, feel free
Well,
to have me on to talk about Naruto or something, and I'll just make shit up.
absolutely. I love it. Yeah.
I love a
Yeah.
fresh take on Naruto. It's always my favorite thing.
Always. I need more fresh takes, honestly.
I, yes, on keep them hot and ready, just the way I like them.
Oh, we forget this really important question before
Ooh,
you go.
ooh,
Who is the hottest anime person you've ever seen?
ah,
Who's the
jeez.
hottest? Who's the hottest chick? Just you're like, wow, I gotta watch this. This is something. Does it hentai about this? Like, you know what I mean? What?
I don't
Or
know that
man,
that
or man. We're
exists
inclusive
for
here.
me.
Whoa,
Does
no
like
way.
does like Tifa from Final Fantasy VII
Oh,
count?
that's
I don't
adjacent.
Oh,
know.
she is animes you can get. I
Right.
That's
mean,
adjacent.
have you seen
Them
her?
them hey,
I
them proportions, those are anime proportions, my guy.
yeah, yeah, they definitely are.
Uh oh.
Fucking alarm.
Snake's calling them. Time
Uh
to go.
but yeah, for lack of a better, you put me on the spot. I'm sure there's got to be something in something that I've seen. Oh, Android 18's good looking, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
Android.
Hey, a
Android
classic.
18.
There, you know what?
I
My
like,
man's got classic taste, as you should.
she's a good looking
Mondo
lady,
cool.
and she's kind of, she's a badass too. I don't think she like even likes men, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's Krillin sexual. Everyone
Yeah,
knows it.
right.
All right. Well, we don't know how to end our podcast ever, so I'm just gonna plug a weird catchphrase. You can make your own up. I'll see you guys next time on the next Phil time, same Phil place. You got anything, D?
This time I'm gonna go with next time on Filler Mondays. Check us out as we talk about something
Thank-
about anime.
Literally the title. No joke, folks.
Fill me up, baby.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
And with that, hopefully this episode has filled your guys' appetite about all things anime, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.